Hey everyone, this is Michael with MTS4K here to do another video review. This time I'm doing a review of the Amazon Kindle Oasis and the Kindle Paperwhite, two of my favorite devices I've ever owned. I carry these with me everywhere I go, and I've been doing that for over 3 years now. But I wanted to share kind of my experience using these because I used to work in a bookstore setting and I always thought e-readers and e-books were awful and never liked audiobooks, all that stuff. But a couple years ago, I used the Kindle Paperwhite for the first time and it changed my life. So I wanted to kind of give a little review of these devices and a little recommendation to anybody who hasn't purchased one of these before as to why you should get one of these and get one right now. So let's get into it. For me, when I was trying to think of exactly what I wanted to mention on this review of the Kindle, because there's so many things I like about it, it came down to 4 things. The first one I want to talk about is the screen. Second one I want to talk about is the battery life. And the third thing I want to talk about are just the features of the device. And then the fourth is the Kindle experience. So first, let's talk about the screen. The screen on the Kindle Oasis and Paperwhite is awesome. It uses an e-ink display to essentially mimic the experience of reading a real book and not using pixels shining light directly at your eyes. So what that means for you, if you use a Kindle, is that you're actually getting an experience where it's like reading a real book. I mean, if you turn the brightness to 0, the brightness, all it does is it's a series of lights around the edge of the screen that shine light down to light up the e-ink display for you. But if you turn it to 0, it's like holding a book in your hand, especially if you're like in a well-lit room, if you're reading outside, if you're on your front porch or in your backyard just reading a book. All the time I will turn my brightness down to 0 and it's like reading a real book, just looking at pages of paper. I mean, it's awesome. It's very relaxing for your eyes. For me especially, I stare at screens usually 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day. So having something where I can be able to entertain myself, like read a book, just relax, but not actually have eye strain and like hurt my eyes from doing that, really, really nice, especially when it's like 10 p.m. and I'm just exhausted, but I just need to relax a little bit. Being able to just read a book in bed, but have it like lit up and not hurting my eyes is phenomenal. So this screen on here is really, really nice. It's an incredible experience. It has a very low refresh rate too. So unlike your phone and unlike your TV and monitors, everything else that you probably own that has a screen, the refresh rate on here is really, really low. It only refreshes whenever the e-ink display needs to change what's being displayed to display new words or new titles, new album artwork, whatever it is. So it doesn't really have to refresh very much. So because of that, that leads to the second big thing I want to mention about these, which is the battery life. The battery life on the Kindle Oasis and the Paperwhite is wild. So the Paperwhite actually has up to 10 weeks of battery life with the Wi-Fi off if you read for 30 minutes a day at 13 brightness out of 24. Now, those are some very specific things that they're saying there, but essentially what it is if you just have your Wi-Fi off and your brightness set to middle, like the exact middle of the 0 through 24, and you read for 30 minutes, you're gonna get up to 10 weeks of battery life. That's nuts. Now, if you don't read for 30 minutes a day, because I read for an hour or 2 hours a day, that's not really feasible for me. Even if you read for an hour a day, you're still gonna get up to 5 weeks of battery life. 5 weeks, and that's like if you're like literally reading an hour a day. But like there's been times before where I set my Paperwhite in my backpack and I just forgot about it for a month and I came back and it's at 89%. Because unlike your cell phone or your iPad or your MacBook, it's not downloading things in the background and constantly running. It doesn't need to get text messages or phone calls or stay connected to cellular or any of these things. Like it just is sitting there waiting for you to pick it back up again. So they use a really low energy processor in the Paperwhite to essentially make the battery life last significantly longer than any other device you're used to. I mean, it seriously is shocking. When you read for the first like 4 hours and you look at it and it's like still at 96%, you're just like, what is happening? Like it's a very weird experience, but I love it. As for the Oasis, the one that I generally use, the Oasis uses a different processor. It's a little bit more high power processor, and it also has more lights that light up the edges of the screen, kind of gives it a more uniformly lit experience. But because of those two things, the battery life is a little bit worse than the Paperwhite, even though it costs more. The Kindle Oasis says it gets about 6 weeks under the same conditions. So Wi-Fi off, brightness at 13 out of 24, and the reading for 30 minutes a day. That being said, I've never had any of these devices die on me, except in a very specific case that I will mention in a little bit. But outside of that, I've never had these devices die on me, and I read like every single day. This thing is, when I wear cargo pants or cargo shorts, this is my cargo pants pocket, so I can whip it out and read whenever I want. When I take my backpack anywhere with me, this is in my backpack. Like if I go on a trip, this is in my backpack. I read all the time. I love the battery life on this thing. The third thing that I want to talk about is going to be features. So there's a lot of features of the Paperwhite. Obviously, you know, having the e-ink display and really good battery life are some pretty neat features, but there's a couple others I want to mention that for me especially I've really enjoyed. So one of those is the devices are both water resistant. I'll post the specifics here over this video, probably right here-ish, so you can kind of see, but they're both water resistant, which is really cool to be able to know that you can bring a book like this in a pool with you and not have to worry about it getting wet. Like they even sell, like Amazon sells fabric cases that you can put your Kindle in that are designed to get wet and then dry. That's weird, right? Like that's crazy. I don't use those for two reasons. One, this leather case is one of my favorite things ever. I really like leather cases and leather designs. Like I'm using a leather case on my iPhone right now. But I really like this. It wears really well. You can kind of see it's kind of scuffed up, but I think it looks cool. It actually adds to it in my opinion. I love the scuffedness of it, and just I love how it gets marked up. It's great, but it's really grippy. It's, you know, I have a really good grip on it. I can hold it really well without having to worry about dropping it or anything. So for me, the leather case is where it's at. But the other reason I don't ever do that is because I personally don't have any reason to bring a book in the pool with me. I have little kids, like really little, so I'm usually worried letting them swim alone. So there's not many situations where I could bring this in a pool or anywhere that there's going to be water. The only nice thing for me is knowing that if I ever spill my drink on it or my kids spill my drink on it, it's not going to get ruined. But the fact that that's an option, if you like reading at the pool and you don't want to worry about, you know, having your book ruined or whatever, you can get one of these, get the fabric case for it, and never think about it again. So features like that are awesome. Also the new Paperwhite, they updated the Paperwhite about a year ago now. It has a USB-C charging port, and it can also wirelessly charge if you get the premium model. There's a couple different tiers now of the Kindle Paperwhite. They have like an entry one that's priced really low that doesn't have the, you know, the quite as good a battery life if I remember correctly, and then it doesn't have wireless charging, and then the top tier of the Paperwhite has the wireless charging. But it's kind of cool that that's an option if you're into that. Another feature that these have that's really nice for a lot of people who are interested in this is audiobooks. You can download audiobooks to this and then pair Bluetooth headphones with it and listen to your audiobooks anywhere with the battery life that this has. So that's a really nice feature. I recently got into audiobooks and started listening to audiobooks when I cut the lawn. Specifically, I'm listening to, I think it's called Skyward Sound, something like that. It's written by Brandon Sanderson. That's what I've been listening to when I cut the lawn recently. I just love it. He's such a good writer, and it's so nice to be able like cutting the lawn, but I'm like freaking out when they're shooting down the alien ships, right? So being able to listen to audiobooks on here is a really cool kind of add. Like I don't use it on this too much. I generally still use Audible on my iPhone, but the fact that that's even an option is great. And the battery life on this is amazing. So the fact that you can always have this around if you do want to listen to audiobook, like if your phone's dead or you're on a long trip, you can use this instead without risking your phone battery. That's kind of cool. They do mention that audiobooks will drain the battery a little bit more than that, you know, 10 and 6 weeks I mentioned earlier, but just something to keep in mind. And I still think the battery on here is going to be better than what your iPhone can do, you know, for audiobooks. So that's another feature I really like. One of the last features I want to mention that really sticks out to me is only available on the Kindle Oasis, and one of the reasons I got this device. So first, before I go into that, one of the reasons I got the Oasis, and the biggest reason I got the Oasis, was actually not for the feature I'm about to mention. It's because the battery button, the power button is on top of the device. On the Kindle Paperwhite, the power button is on the bottom. And when you are holding that device, this is not that device, but when you're holding that device, your finger perfectly sits, like where you rest the device on your pinky, for me, perfectly sits where the power button is. I would accidentally shut that thing off like 10 times a day. It was very frustrating. Like, I still loved the device and I thought it was incredible, but it was really frustrating to accidentally put it to sleep mid-read a lot. So that was a big thing for me that was really frustrating. If you look in the Amazon reviews of the Paperwhite, you'll see a lot of people say the same thing. It's a very common issue that people have, is just the poor placement of that button. So I got the Oasis to try to get away from that, and I completely did. Even when I'm holding my Oasis the other way, because of the way that the case is arranged and how it's got this, you know, little cutout thing here for the shape of the actual device, I never have to put my finger underneath where I could hit the power button. So no matter how I hold it, it works perfectly. But that leads to the feature that I wanted to mention on the Oasis, which is the page turn buttons. So on the Kindle Oasis, they made it a little bit wider than the Kindle Paperwhite, and by doing that, they added these two buttons that let you turn the pages without having to touch the screen. And it's really nice because when you use a Paperwhite, it's a totally fine experience. Reading on the Paperwhite is totally fine and a very enjoyable experience. But when you're holding the Paperwhite, you have to swipe on the screen or tap the screen to switch pages. And that can be a little bit annoying because you're not just holding the device, you're swiping, right? So on the Oasis, you can just click the button. So the way I hold my Oasis, my middle finger down here kind of grips the case, and then my thumb sits perfectly between the two buttons. So I can just click next page, back page, and I can just click between the two and switch between pages as I need to. And I never have to change my grip or do anything. I literally am just switching between clicks. So next page. Like, it's a great experience. It's a small feature, right? Like, it's not like a game-breaking feature, but it's something I've grown to love, and I don't think that I could live without now at this point. Like, I would never be able to switch back to the Paperwhite from the Oasis because it doesn't have those page-turning buttons. So that's a big feature for me. The last thing that I want to mention on here is going to be the Kindle experience. So the Kindle experience is something I've never really seen on another device besides like Apple's ecosystem before, but it's really, really cool. So to try to kind of explain that, if you buy a book on Kindle or, you know, on Amazon.com, like, because you can't buy it through your phone, but if you go to the website, then you can buy it there, whatever. If you buy a book through one of those things, you just say, send it to this book, or send it to this Kindle, send it to this device, and you can even specify, like, send it to my phone, like this specific phone I'm signed into the Kindle app on, send it to that, send it to my iPad, any device you can have the Kindle app on, you can read your Kindle books. That's really cool. But on top of that, they have this thing called WhisperSync, and essentially what it does is whenever you finish reading, right, you go to put your thing to sleep, it uploads the most recent page you read to that time and from which device. So if I were to read this for an hour and then put it to sleep and then like 20 minutes later be like, I can't find it, I'm just gonna read from my phone. If I open the Kindle app on my phone and navigate to that book, it will actually tell me, hey, you were most recently at this location, you know, 20 minutes ago on Michael's Kindle Oasis. Do you want to move here? And I would just click yes, and I can keep reading from exactly where I was on the other device on the new device. I will say it doesn't always work. I've had it fail a few times before, not recently, but it did used to fail a little bit more often, especially if it's books you've read before and you reread them again. It'll be like, you were most recently here 2 years ago. And I'm like, no, I was not. I was somewhere else. So that it's kind of like sync to furthest page read is, I think, the feature that it's actually like one of the features of the books. And I think that might be what I'm thinking of that failed. It's been a really long time since I've had that issue, but it's just something I want to mention. I think the WhisperSync technology is really cool, and being able to have it sync between your iPad and your phone. I mean, you can even read on your Mac. Like, you can go to the Kindle browser, like go to your browser and pull up the Kindle app and read from there. Like, that's really cool, being able to do that. So there's definitely, the Kindle experience is a pretty amazing experience. And another thing I want to add to that's kind of unique, I hadn't really been able to experience this before. One of my favorite authors, Brandon Sanderson, wrote a book I actually did a huge Kickstarter with 4 secret books, I think is what they're called. And he did a Kickstarter last year, and they started releasing this year. But what he does is when the book releases, they just send you a link to the website and you sign in and download like the .epub file of the book. And then from there on your iPhone, you literally just open the book, there's a share button, you click share, and you click on the Kindle app and it uploads it. And that's it. Like you say, yep, this is the author, and you type in the name of the book and you click upload, and it uploads to your Kindle like account, and that's it. Like I literally did that with 3 of the books that he sent out so far. Like Tress and the Emerald Sea, one of my favorite books of all time by Brandon Sanderson, a phenomenal book. It was so cool because you just get the EPUB, you upload it to the app, 3 minutes later, it's on my Kindle Oasis and I'm reading here in my bed. Like it's so sweet. I didn't even buy it from Amazon. Like I got the book from somewhere else. And then it did the Whisper Sync stuff, and it pulled the album artwork in even. Like it was like, oh hey, I know who wrote this, and it pulled the album artwork in, so it shows on my Kindle and it shows on my phone. Like really cool experience. It's kind of almost unexpected for Amazon to be supporting books that weren't purchased on Amazon. So I really love that. I think it's a really unique experience to be able to read on here. But the fact that this can do all of it, and you can read, you know, books, listen to audiobooks, you can purchase things from the store, you can rate things on Goodreads. You know, there's even a section in here that lets you do like kids books, like kids reading. You can switch to a kid mode, and then you can sign up for a subscription that lets your kids read books on here, and then you can just like X out of it whenever to go back to your own books on Kindle. Like it's a really unique experience, and it's a really good experience. So I highly recommend the Kindle Paperwhite and the Oasis. I think you'll be really happy with them. I know I have for many years, and honestly, I'm kind of at the point where I love my Oasis almost more than anything else that I own right now. But I still sometimes go to the Amazon page and just look to see if there's a new model out yet, because I'm like, is there going to be a new one soon with an even better battery life, or like, you know, even better screen, or USB-C charging, or wireless charging? I'm like, I can't wait. So I'm always looking to see if there's a new one coming out, but that's just because I love these devices so much. I can't imagine not having them anymore. One thing I didn't mention earlier that I just wanted to bring up was kind of battery life with this. There has been a bug that's happened a couple times to me. I'll say I think it's happened 3 or 4 times in the past year, where I'll go to use my Kindle and it's just completely dead. Like it won't turn on, it won't do anything, and I'll plug it in and then it's just charging, but like I didn't use it. Like it literally was fully charged. I put it in my bag overnight. The next day I go to use it and it's completely dead. And it's like I'll hold the power button for 50 seconds, or like it's like a really long time to force restart the device, and it just doesn't turn on. So I've had that happen a couple times. I don't know if it's like bumping the power button weird, or it like encounters some kind of software glitch and just shuts down, or like keeps running until it dies. But I've had that happen a couple times. So that's just something to keep in mind. I've never had that on my Paperwhite before. It only happens on my Oasis. I'm not sure why that is. They do put out software updates periodically, so hopefully they'll put out one that'll fix that problem. But just something I wanted to mention. So if any of you guys have ever had that issue before, or if you do, you know, if you're worried about having that issue, I wouldn't be too worried about it. It doesn't happen that often. It has happened a few times to me, and I wanted to mention it. But generally, I don't really have any issues with this device. So to sum everything up, my Kindle Oasis and my Paperwhite, like I said, they're 2 of my favorite devices I've ever owned. I love reading books so much. Like Brandon Sanderson, absolutely amazing. Patrick Rothfuss, awesome. Cannot wait for him to eventually come out with that other book for Name of the Wind. There's so many amazing authors out there, and I just love reading on this thing, and it's phenomenal to be able to download all like 300 books that I have on Amazon, like on Kindle, to this device, still have 26 gigs of storage left, and just be able to read them anywhere, and have it be water resistant, so I don't have to worry about rain or accidental spills, or reading if I want to read in the pool or by the ocean. Like, it's just such a cool device to have these kinds of features. but then just be able to read a book anywhere or listen to an audiobook anywhere. Like it's just a really, really amazing device. So I couldn't recommend it enough. Hopefully you guys like this video. Hopefully you guys go out and get one. If you don't have one, I think you will not regret it. I think you'll love it. Usually you can catch them on sale for like Amazon, you know, Prime Day and stuff too. So if you want to wait it out and wait for a Prime Day sale, you can definitely do that, and you will probably get it on sale. It usually does go on sale pretty heavily at that time. But if you guys are interested in purchasing one, definitely click the link in the description below. Help support the channel, and you know, maybe there's some promotions down there or something. I don't know. Sometimes Amazon does do promotions on the Kindles just out of the blue during the year, so hopefully you guys can get a good deal on one. But yeah, these are some of my favorite devices I've ever owned. I think you guys will love them. Thank you so much for watching the video, guys. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, like and subscribe. Comment below if you own a Kindle. Tell me what your experience has been like on it, and then what Kindle you have as well. I'm curious if other people, you know, went for the more expensive Oasis like me, or if they wanted to stick with the Paperwhite, which I started with and, you know, still love. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you around. Whew, that was a tough one, guys. Right now it is midnight. It's 12:07 that I'm currently shooting this. I'm trying to get my videos out a little bit more, but it's really hard when I'm working all day and then I got the kids at night, you know, trying to spend time with the family and the kids, so it's hard to shoot these all the time. So anyway, it's like 12:07. I'm exhausted. I don't even know if some of what I'm saying is making sense. Hopefully it does by the time I try to edit this all together. But yeah, I don't know, wanted to say that as a little bit of an outro. So if you guys like the video, definitely like and subscribe. Come check out some of my other videos. I have some really cool videos out there, like on the Steam Deck, the Samsung Fold, the Z Fold 5. There's some videos out there on that. So definitely go check out my stuff. Hopefully you guys like it. Let me know what you think. See you around.